What's your take on that?
Oh, absolutely. And getting back to that decision by the Supreme Court, I believe that it really opened the doors for the organic industry, even though Monsanto was basically, they put out a press release and put a different spin on it, basically that it opened the doors for them to put out this fine product, this GE seed, and so they can market their product any way they wish, but the reality is that these rulings, every ruling like that, really helps the organic and conventional farmers that want nothing to do with the GE seeds and contamination. And there are rulings across the country, and there was one in Canada that was pretty significant that there was a ruling some time ago about Monsanto had sued this farmer who was not involved in the GE crops, and they had tested his crops, found it to be contaminated, and said, you owe us the financial monies that come with your crop. And this went all the way to the Supreme Court, and basically the Supreme Court ruled that this farmer did not gain anything from the production of those crops involving the GE seeds, and so that was another victory. And I think that every victory that comes in the near future and in future years is going to be big for the organic consumers and farmers and just the whole organic farming industry. So every little bit helps as far as I'm concerned.
And I think actually that was what I'd read about the whole Whole Foods issue, is that they were pushing in exchange for some compensation for farmers who were found to have issues.
Exactly. And that was one of the issues in the communications with the USDA, et cetera. But the bottom line is that there's a lot of issues with the. I might back up and say that originally in 1996, when the first soybean crop hit our lands. There was a couple-year period where the use of glyphosate and these herbicides, these strong herbicides, actually declined for just a couple of years. And it's pretty compelling information that since that time, in 13 years since the first GE crop hit our land, there has been I believe 382 or 383 million additional pounds of glyphosate and herbicides that have been used on crops that normally would not have been used. And the interesting point about this also is that not only this 13-year period, it averaged about 30 million additional pounds of glyphosate, which is the trade name is Roundup that everybody is familiar with. But in the last 2 years, in 2007 and 2008, that accounted for 46% of that 382 million pounds of herbicides. So basically what has happened is you can see, if you were to graph this, you could see that the use of Roundup has increased significantly year after year after year after those first couple of years. And see, that's one of Monsanto's and these biotech selling points, is that they use this seed because they have to use less herbicide.
Right, and now they have to use more, actually.
They have to use more, exactly.
We have to take a break right now. We'll be right back with Rick Thomas on Food Integrity Now.
Welcome back to Food Integrity Now. We're talking with Rick Thomas about GMO alfalfa. Rick, there's some news articles that came out. I think it was Michael Pollan wrote a piece talking about how GMO alfalfa is solving a need that does not exist. And he touched on the fact that I think it was only 11% of the current alfalfa crop is having pesticides used on it, and that there really is no need to use pesticides on alfalfa as an alfalfa farmer. Can you touch on that?
Yes, absolutely. That's a good point by Mr. Paulin, and I have done a lot of research in last several months, and the figures that I continue to come in with is anywhere from 7 to 10% of the current alfalfa acreage is never sprayed, is sprayed with an herbicide. So you're talking about 90 to 93% of the alfalfa crops are not sprayed. So that right there would lead any person to take a step back and look at this situation and say, well, what's the advantage of using a GE seed that these biotech companies claim is going to reduce the use of or the need for herbicides and pesticides, et cetera, when only 7 to 10% of the current acreage is sprayed, so that's a question that needs to be posed to not only Monsanto and the biotech companies, but the legislatures and people in power. They have to look at all these facts, and they have to look at the big picture. There's about 22 million acres of alfalfa being grown in this country, and less than 1% is organic. Of course, there's the other component of just conventional farming that doesn't use GE seed, and still only 7 to 10% of that of those crops are sprayed. So I agree, both with you and Mr. Paulin, that the question begs to be asked: why? Why do we need the GE seeds if this is such an issue?
It certainly seems that the when you look at Clarence Thomas's affiliations with Monsanto, being a former Monsanto attorney, and all of the other GMO all-stars in the Obama administration, kind of have to wonder whether there was some talks going on behind closed doors that would benefit the coffers of Monsanto.
Oh, yeah. Well, that goes without question. There are statistics that point to approximately there's an excess of 1,000 lobbyists for these biotech companies and transnational companies over in Washington, which equates to about 2 lobbyists per legislator that are lobbying on behalf of these biotech companies. And the issue of the revolving door is real. It's not some fantasy. You talk about Supreme Court Justice Thomas. He did not recuse himself from the recent rulings on the alfalfa issue and other GE rulings that have come down in recent years. And then you've got the situation with the USDA Secretary Vilsack. There's no secret that he has had a lot of good communications with the Monsanto people, and Monsanto was even part of the whole process of some of his campaigns. And then you've got somebody like Michael Taylor, who was the deputy commissioner for foods at the FDA, or he is currently the deputy commissioner for foods at the FDA. But years ago, he oversaw a group of attorneys that one of their clients one of their clients was Monsanto, and he was subsequently appointed to a position at the FDA. I think it was back in 1992. He was the Deputy Commissioner for Policy, and he was involved in the process with Vice President Quayle when Quayle wanted to speed up the production of GM products without being hampered by unnecessary regulation.